Okay, so I decided that today I can do the video about Strange Darling. So I'm going to make an attempt again to do that right now. I want to let you know up front that my hair looked a lot better yesterday than it does right now. All right, so I felt like I could do this today because, yeah, it seems apropos, sort of. And I love the movie. I watched it on, what's today, Thursday. I watched it on Tuesday night because I was planning on doing a video about it, but then Wednesday evening came and everything got blown to pieces. So I'm trying again because I need to move on with my life if I still can't be dead. I feel like I have a lot of different types of things to say about Strange Darling. Okay, so where should we begin? The opening scene is a car chase. You don't know what happened before that to cause the car chase. The opening scene is deliberately designed to make us, use our stereotypes, our social constructs, to decide who's playing what role in that scene. And first of all, spoiler alerts for Strange Darling. Like, I'm totally gonna give stuff away. If you want to go in clean and cold, then you should turn this off right now. This is meant mostly for people who have seen it already. The opening scene, like I said, is intended for us to access stereotypes and archetypes in movies, in thriller movies, horror movies. I think it's totally natural for most people who've, watched Western cinema to assume that she's a victim who's running from a predator. I did eat those stereotypes, and I assumed she was a victim, and I assumed he was a predator. And I also, I think, felt sort of like disappointed, like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those. Like, ugh, you know what I mean? Yeah, paint by numbers stuff. But it wasn't. So, and I kept watching because it was interesting to me that in the opening credits, it says that it was filmed entirely on 35 millimeter. It was actually a movie that in recent times made me remember how special film is just in terms of aesthetics. I know that it's not practical the way that digital is. But it is special. It's special because like records are special. It's got a graininess to it that adds texture to the story. And there's a series of scenes which is their date. And he is like a very typical white millennial, like, you could see him be like a craft beer appreciator kind of guy. Very average. Yeah, just like average in every way. Doesn't seem, particularly well equipped to deal with a woman who's kind of sophisticated psychologically. So you can see him struggling with that even in the first, like, the opening scenes, which I think is interesting. She is very manipulative from the outset, and she toys with him from the outset. It seems like it's a one-night stand. He sounds like he might have a girlfriend, and she sounds like she's just a single, independent woman who just wants to get laid, or whatever, wants to get laid, because women really just don't approach it the same way that men do. They can pretend that they do, but they really don't. It's psychological for them. It's not about their genitalia. But anyway, and she is not at all a stereotype. The things she says are different and weird. But she's very much playing into the sexuality because she's trying to seduce him, and then there's the bondage part, where, I mean, say it's sadism part where he chokes her. And definitely the director plays into our stereotypes where we're assuming that she's a victim and he's like a serial killer or whatever. Uh, at the same time, I love that, first of all, the actress is fucking fabulous. I can't remember her name right now. She's like an unknown. I don't believe I'd seen her in anything else before. She was amazing, amazing casting choice. It's one of the reasons I love the movie, because they didn't phone it in. They really auditioned people. He didn't just pick some chick that he wanted to fuck from college. You know what I mean? And she's manipulating him from the outset, but you don't totally see it because the director has kind of tricked you into putting them into pre-designated roles. So you're not really sure what's going on. It's kind of confusing. So I love that. That's why I want to talk about that, because I love that. I think it's clever, and I think that it makes us play with our stereotypes of what, men and women's roles are in relationships and in the world. It of course turns out that she's the serial killer in this situation, and he's a cop. But it seems like he might be like a suspended cop, or like maybe he's not a cop anymore, but he was. Like he got in trouble for, bad behavior or drinking or drugging, because he has the cocaine thing. There's a whole cocaine thing, where he's obviously very familiar with cocaine. And I think he actually references when they're in the hotel room together, he says something that implies that he's had an addiction issue in the past. But he's still just mostly like a regular guy. But then it's like, yeah, but we think that all the time. And then they're Jeffrey Dahmer or the BTK killer. You know what I mean? So, and it's intentionally playing into all of that history, anthropology in our heads that we keep filed in our heads all the time. And then as the movie progresses, it turns out that she's the villain, but also, there are these little Easter eggs, and I don't mean the kind that the nerds mean with the, special features on the DVDs. Anyway, there's so many little nuggets, about where it's very clearly implied that she either had an abusive relationship, maybe the guy that tried to kill her, or choked her, abused her. Maybe she went on a one night stand kind of date, like a Tinder date, and got attacked. Whatever it is, or maybe even attacked by a serial killer and survived. She obviously has been a victim at some point in her life. It comes through very clearly. And that she's acting out based on that trauma. And of course, it doesn't excuse it. You still hate her for being so evil, because the things she does are awful. You have to watch her destroy people, destroy their lives, destroy things they built. It's awful. It's terrible. It's very realistic and gritty and human. And I hated her for killing the victims that I liked. The director allowed me to like for a little bit and get to know. So I hated that. And I saw her evil, of course, but I also recognized that as painting a picture of women's trauma, of sexual assault. And you go out on a date with a guy and you don't want to go out with him again, and he ends up stalking you for the next 5 years, and you have to move 5 times and change your name. You know what I mean? It happens to women a lot, you guys. It happens to women a lot more than they talk about, because they don't want to sound crazy. Because it's just an accepted part of our society, really. Still. The fact that I still have to live with my stalker, abuser, whatever, This is why women get murdered every day by their ex-partners, because the cops don't do enough. Because they don't listen to us, and they don't look at the evidence, and they don't listen to the man himself, who usually will give you all kinds of clues that what she's accusing him of is true. You guys just have a club, and you just are just in that club together, and we can't get in there. Our victimization means nothing. Anyway, it's very frustrating. It makes me very angry and very sad and full of rage. So I want to wrap it up. I feel like I've been very incoherent, and I don't feel like I had any organizing idea at all. So I'm so glad I'm not writing a paper on this right now. So I love that it's sort of a black comedy thing where she repeats throughout the movie like she doesn't want to kill anybody. Like, if people could stop making her have to, like she wouldn't have to anymore. Which is obviously not true, because she always has free will and she always has the choice. She has the option to not do that. But I just think that's sort of funny that it's like this passive aggressive, like I would rather not. I don't want to. But anyway, in the final scenes, a man that she's about to murder says, I think he says, "Why do you do it?" or something like that. But the essence of the question is he wants to know what the reason is, why, right? That's always what empaths want to know. We want to know why. We want to understand why. What's your motivation for being such an evil piece of shit, right? And he asks her that, and she says, sometimes when I look at people, I don't see people, I see devils. And that's her answer to that question. That's what she has to answer. And of course, my interpretation of her as a character is that, like I said, she's a victim. She might have been mentally ill before that point. She might have been mentally ill after that point. Might have gotten PTSD on top of borderline personality disorder or schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever. Yeah, I mean, who cares about the specifics? But it's definitely like somebody who was not right in the head to begin with, and then got victimized, and that's what happens when that solution is mixed together. So she's always a human being, even if she doesn't really see her victims as human beings. And in the end, there's this beautiful, the last scene is gorgeous. She gets into a pickup truck with a woman that thinks she's rescuing, like a young damsel in distress that's wounded and needs help. And you see the killer look in the mirror, in the rear view, the side view mirror, at herself. And you understand that she's seeing the devil in herself. And so she pulls a gun on the woman that picked her up, because the woman's like a cowgirl. It's like takes place here in the Northwest somewhere. She's like a cowgirl, and so she pulls a gun on her, and the woman, of course, has a gun, and she shoots her to protect herself. And she dies slowly through this ride. The woman immediately calls 911 while she's driving. I'm on the way to the hospital. I picked up this woman. She needed help, but then she pulled a gun on me, and I had to shoot her, and I'm bringing her to the hospital right now. Like, she does everything right, like she's angelic. And you see, I'm going to start crying. You see the killer. I don't remember where her name is in the script. You see her recognizing that the woman that saved her is an angel, partly because she's putting her out of her misery, but also because she's got purity of heart, and she's black and white, up and down, and she's saving the world from her evil, and saving her from her evil. And it's a beautiful scene. Not everybody might see it as beautiful, but I do. And the movie is, I haven't actually looked the song up, but the movie seems to be sort of having an inspirational whatever from a song that has the lyric "Strange Darling" in it. It sounds like vagina folk music, but uh so while I have some issues with choices that he made, they are fairly minor, and I think it's a fantastic movie. I really do. I've seen it, like I said, 4 or 5 times. I own it now. I own a copy of it on Amazon because I like to go back and watch it periodically. I guess the conclusion that I want to end with is just that I think that we as humans, even in Western culture, or maybe especially in Western culture, but the East is still pretty screwed up with gender relations. We have a long way to go as a world, just as a world. We have a long way to go when it comes to men and women and our rights and violence and etc. Relationships, personal and business and otherwise, still very problematic, and that's very resonant in my life, and I guess maybe that's why this movie appeals to me so much right now and why I wanted to talk about it. I highly recommend it, and I hope you will watch it and give it attention, and not multitask while you're watching it. Really just give it your full attention, and yeah, be immersed in it. And yeah, I hope so. It's a really, really fucking good movie.